welcome back everyone. This week's Picture of the Week is being brought to you by Flowers Garden Center. And let me tell you something, he's got a lot of brand new tropicals out there. Mike and Deborah, Jim and Anna, Mark and Hope of all out there. And they've got all kinds of flowers for you. They're at 4550 Eatons Creek Road right here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. Our first picture here is Austin Schuett. He is 15 years of age, and he is from Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And Brian, you ought to know this fella because you took him fishing.
Yeah, that's my boat.
That's your boat. You took him. And he got a nice fish on Percy Priest on a charter with Brian Carper's team. So good job there, Brian. And awesome job, Austin. Our next picture here, good friend of mine. I want you to look at this pig. Wow. This is my good friend, Stacy Nunley. Hugh, I caught this 27-inch long, weighed 10 pounds, 12 ounces, and I caught it on a swim jig. So great job, Stacy. I tell you what, this man constantly brings in 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 pounders almost every time he goes. And so take his advice. All he says is, Hugh, I get out there and I fish. That's it. So that's all you have to do. Hey, you can send your pictures to us here at Southern Woods and Waters, 474 James Robertson Parkway, Nashville, Tennessee, 37219, or simply email them to me at hugh@southernwoodsandwaters.com. We'll get them on here really fast, okay? I have with me tonight, I have Brian Carper with Brian Carper's Guide Service. He services Old Hickory Lake and Percy Priest. Really has a great crew of guys. I've known all of these guys for many years. They are all great fishermen in their own right. I deal with Brian because Brian owns it. He runs it, and I think Miss Emma owns it too.
Yeah, she's learning like her mom.
She's learning like mama.
Right.
Brian, we've got kids graduating. We got kids getting out of school. It's that time of year when a lot of kids will go to the country, or they'll go to the lakes. They want to go fishing. What's some of the things that's coming up that's pretty exciting as far as you know?
Well, out on the lake, we've got a couple youth events that, they have their free day coming up later this summer.
That's right.
And, something that I'll throw out there we've been thinking of doing as a guide service, and we can involve the youth and, some of our younger clients, and is doing possibly a Percy Priest, Brian Carper's Guide Service, or whoever cleanup day.
That'd be awesome.
They do some in Nashville down near the dam.
Yeah.
We fish on the upper end, and there is a lot of places, and I was talking to my client today, that are really polluted that we thought would be a great way to serve the community, get some youth involved, and just go pick up some trash and do something good for the lake. So that's not a fishing, but a lake day that we thought would be a good event, maybe to get the ball rolling here.
Well, anytime you can get a kid near water, you're going to have fun.
My mom got me in a little puddle, and look where it's taking me.
That's right. That's right. You know what else would be good is we could get this with TWRA and maybe kind of plant 20 cypress trees, and let these kids learn a little bit about conservation too.
Yeah, that can be a part of all that, and watch them grow throughout the years. And I know when I got started, when I moved down here in 2001, you'd see these little cypress trees, and they grow slow, but 15 years later, they're turning into 4 or 5 foot trees.
That's right.
And you notice there's more and more of them throughout the lake, so they're doing a great thing in that aspect as far as successfully planting those in the lake. And it definitely adds to,
it definitely adds to the fishing.
And the fishing. When the water gets up high,
that's right.
It's a good place to go fishing.
And, there's something about a kid doing it now and then growing up and becoming an adult that will say, I helped plant that tree right there, and that might even be their favorite fishing hole,
Definitely.
They
Yeah,
turn
they have a story, and they can be a part of, the outdoors and, part of their fishing story.
Bass fishing still king on Percy Priest and Old Hickory?
Yes, it is, and it's been a crazy year. I think I say that every year. It's a crazy year, but this year seems a little bit more odd because we had such warm temperatures in March.
Yes.
The crappie moved up quick. The bass were up. A lot of shallow big fish being caught in March. And then we kind of hit this slope where it got cool again. Yeah. And when it warmed up a little bit again, and now we're in middle of May, and this morning on Old Hickory it was 66, and it was it was cool the last couple days. So I think these fish on Percy Priest, Old Hickory, and other Middle Tennessee lakes are ready and wanting to go out to their summer patterns and start getting post-spawn. But the lake is still in the 60s in a lot of spots, so we're catching a lot of fish and still in 2 to 5 feet of water. As far as the bass, they're up feeding on these shad that haven't moved out yet. And if you're staying shallow, you're find success because it's still a shallow bite on both lakes. However, for the first time the other day, we got out for me and my crew on some deep points. We got out with our down scan and our side scan, and we did find some big schools out in 8 or 10 foot sitting way out in the middle. So that was the first time we saw, okay, we got a new gear kind of turning, and it looks like next week 80s, maybe 90, I heard.
Right.
That's going to be, I think, our first big push into summer bite.
I think it's going to turn a lot of those shallow water into deeper haunts.
I think it'll be more of a morning, evening shallow bite like we get in the summer, and then they'll start getting on that time, that feeding time you see in the summer where maybe 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock you get on the humps and check the same 4 or 5 spots out through the day, and you're hitting one time and it'll be every cast. So we're getting there.
Is the top water bite on yet?
It is. It has been great. We've been doing well in some tournaments and doing a lot of good guide trips in the top water lures.
Walking the dog?
Walking the dog. That's my favorite.
That's my
go-to
favorite.
is a spook. That's probably my favorite lure on Percy Priest. And the spooks and the poppers have been really annihilating some big bass the last 2 weeks.
That's
on
great.
the cloudy days, you got to have it on.
The cloudy days, they're going to be there.
Yep.
What about sunny days? I mean, I always like to use it till the sun gets just to the treetops, and then I quit.
Well, that's a good rule of thumb, and that is the perfect time to put down something on the surface and maybe pick up your spinner bait, or a square bill is a popular crankbait. One of the go-tos after the sun's been up has been a newer bait, the wobble head or the swing head jig. We've been throwing 3-4 inch crawfish on them. I like the big bite bait. Not a sponsor, just a great affordable crawl. I think you get like 6 or 7 or 8 for $3.99.
Oh yeah.
And I stock up and put those on the wobble heads and just drag it, or I'll just reel it in real slowly, just where it's barely hitting the bottom.
Barely touching the bottom.
Yeah. So those have been phenomenal. And the Zoom trick worm is probably the most used worm in my boat.
Now
all year
you
long.
Texas rigging it, or you shaky heading
Shaky
it?
head.
I
Shaky
figured I'd
head.
get it out of you.
The shaky head is probably the go-to as far as numbers. You catch big fish, you catch a lot of fish. It's a great guide lure, and it offers a lot of activity, a lot
And
of
it's
action.
easy for clients to use it too, isn't it?
Drag it until you feel it.
Yeah.
And tell me when you're stuck, we'll go get it, because Percy Priest is full of snags.
Oh, I'm telling
There's
you.
$1 billion at the bottom of Percy Priest.
There he is.
And about 1,000 of mine, or more than that. So,
All right, so shaky head. What about these new swim baits? I mean, just like Stacy Nunley, he likes that swim bait also. Not swim bait, but swimming jig.
Swimming jig is very popular now. A lot of guys, especially on Old Hickory, get in this grass and start swimming, and I use it quite a bit, not quite as much as probably as some of the others, and I think about it and go, man, I should be using this. But I have gotten into swimming a chatterbait a lot and throwing it, where usually I would just use a Texas rig and kind of crawl it. I'm only 34, but I still get stuck in my ways of I don't need that new stuff. I don't need no chatterbait. I'll just give me a Texas rig and a 3-inch crawl. What color? I don't care. Just give me one.
Yeah,
But,
it doesn't matter.
But some of these guys are coming out and get me hooked on some of the new baits, big spoons. Throwing big swim baits in the summer. I drag a lot of worms and throw crankbait, but these big 6-8 inch swim baits. I know some guys that throw them and they come in with some big sacks, and you're like, man, I gotta get better at that. So you're always learning.
Don't you think though that's what? I mean, I'm kind of old school like you. I get set in my ways. I'm a soft plastic kind of guy.
Yeah.
I figure if you can catch them with a crankbait, I can catch them with a soft plastic.
Right.
So I'm a little bit on the hard-headed side too. But all of a sudden, my good friend Jeff Hill makes those Mad Dad lures, the swim baits and stuff, and that seems to be A lot of people using it. I took it to Dale Holla not too long ago, and flat wore out a guide.
Oh, really?
I had Bobby Gentry in the bar right there, and Bobby Gentry, he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm on my last one, but I'll sell it to you."
Yeah, it's always.
But it's a swim bait, you know, and it was just coming through the grass and not hanging up.
It's phenomenal. They have these, the soft ones now that have so much action.
Yes.
And if you're in a tournament or not, there's rules and regulations for the amount of hooks and all that for Tennessee for Alabama rigs. But it's amazing in the winter how many times the Alabama rig is dominating, but then you'll see the guy throwing just one right beside him, catching the same amount of weight, where the one swim bait can compete with the 5, which for me years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, if you had an Alabama rig, I mean, you're catching some big fish and it was hard to beat those guys. But now you can get one bait that for some reason is more enticing than all 5 of them sometimes. So, and you don't wear yourself out all day throwing 30 pounds of metal.
Did you have some clients complaining about throwing that thing all day?
Well, it is a great guide bait, because instead of having them chuck it all, just throw this one. And then they whoop you and you high five and make sure they have a good time.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, though, with all this going on, even the swim baits and everything, I got to ask, Brian Carper, what is your go-to bait when you're searching for fish? What's your go-to?
It's definitely a shaky head.
Shaky head.
Shaky head with the 6 3/4, almost 7-inch zoom trick worm, the finesse worm. And it's usually, I'm not a big color advocate. It's usually a green pumpkin or some kind of red. A lot of times it's the first thing I see on the deck of my boat, whatever color the trick worm is, but it gets a lot of bites, and it's a producer, and it will catch big fish. There's a lot of tournaments people go, I need a big jig, and then I'll catch a 5-6 pounder on a little finesse worm, and they go, if I gotta throw a shaky head, I'm going to the house. I say, well, you're getting whooped is what you're getting.
That's right.
You better go to the house.
All right, we got to do our product of the week, and let's go to it right now. This week's product of the week is being sponsored by Highland Rim Tractor over there in Millersville, right there on the main drag there. Go by and see them. Tell John Story or Miss Story that we said hello, and you heard it right here on Southern Woods and Waters. This week the product is, there is a brand new product out there, and I've been trying to harp on it for just a little bit, but it's a great tool, and one that I think Brian would like, and it's called Connect Scale. Connect Scale. Look it up on your website at www.connectscale. It is a brand new scale that it takes the best 5 readings that you'll get that day, and it goes ahead and tallies it for you and everything, but you're ready to go with those 5 fish. So there's no guesswork to it. When you come to scales, you know about what you have in the way of weight, and it's called Connect Scale. Check them out, www.connectscale.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to open up our phone lines here for you, 615-737-7767. Be right back with more Southern Woods and Waters.